Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Why We Heal, or should I say welcome to Why We Heal if this is your first time watching the show. This show is all about helping you to understand and really bring into yourself why healing matters. Originally energy healing, but the truth is there's all types of healing that will get us into our bodies, soul, spirits, and minds. And so we are approaching all of those topics on this show so that you have a way to heal ultimately your heart and soul to live your best life. And today I am welcoming a very special guest for a very special episode that's timely, even if you aren't watching it in February. Dr. Ann Donnelly, who's joining us from, are you in the UK or Ireland right now?
I'm in both, actually. Northern Ireland is part of the UK.
Okay.
So I'm in Ireland, yes.
Oh, all right. Thank you. That's right. The UK, it's on the coast. But Dr. Ann is a general practitioner and a palliative care doctor for over 30 years. But on her quest for true healing, it took her through yoga and acupuncture and ultimately to the Modern Mystery School, where she found the deeper truth that she was looking for, I'm sure, for herself and also to deeply heal others. And this is where I know Dr. Ann from. She's one of my teachers and one of the lovely people that I get to know and be in community with and learn from and just soak in her wonderful, delicious energy and vibes all the time. So I'm really happy to share her with you today. And thanks for joining us, Dr. Ann.
Zuyapa, that's the most beautiful introduction. Thank you very much indeed. I'm delighted to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
I'm really looking forward to our talk today. So before we get started, I will say maybe you can move the mic a little bit forward.
Oh, yes, I shall. Is that better?
Yeah, or maybe just
hold
you could
it like
hold
this.
It too if it's
yes, I can do
like
that
very daintily with your wonderful hand. All right. So now that we've healed the sound, let's do some more healing. So.
Yes.
As you know, the first question that we like to start with on this show is all about healing in your perspective. So please, Dr. Ann Donnelly, let us know what in your perspective is healing.
Gosh, Zuyapa, it's not the easiest question to answer because for me, I went on a quest really to find the essence of true healing because I was working as a GP, a family doctor with a prescription pad. And while I knew that I could treat certain conditions that were physical maladies that people were coming in with, I really felt I wasn't getting to the core of what was really going on with the person. And it was that sent me on that quest. So yes, I went down many routes, as you very kindly introduced there. I became a yoga teacher. I studied acupuncture, homeopathy, neurolinguistic programming, emotional freedom therapy. I went down many, many different routes, and each one, contributed to help my patients, my clients. But I found that it was when I stepped into the mystery school that suddenly I realized what I had been looking for, and that was this concept that each one of us is called to really step into something that we don't often talk about in normal everyday conversations. And that is the true divine aspects of ourselves. Now, we have this physical body. And being a physician, I've studied it for many, many, many years. And I know that as human beings, we over-identify with it. We have our five senses. We can see, we can hear, we can taste, we can touch, we can smell. And because of this, we feel that that is all there is. But we're not actually taught about the realities of the energy that flows through us and that we are very much part of. And when I came to the mystery school, I suddenly started to study other realities. And I had touched on these in different studies before, but there was this whole opening about me, not just as just this physical being, but also having other bodies, like a soul body, and in particular a spirit body. Now, I had studied physics as a student in school, and I was always hugely taken by Einstein's saying that energy is neither created nor destroyed. And this gave me great hope when I was a student. I felt, I lived in a farm. I was brought up a farmer's daughter, and I saw the cycle of life on the farm over and over and over again, and the animals that we had, and the pets that we had, and there was a huge cycle of life in that. And yet, as our pets passed away, I was absolutely sure that was not the end. There was something in me as a child that was telling me that. And because that was the case, when I came to the school and I heard so much more about energy and what happens, to help us to connect with energy in terms of the healing work we do, in terms of the teachings that we experience, in terms of the phrase to know thyself, not just as a physical being, but as a spiritual being as well. Because when we truly, truly, truly connect to that spiritual knowledge, that spiritual aspect of ourselves, then honestly, we can answer any question that we could ever ask, and truly anything is possible. Because that aspect of ourselves, that spiritual aspect of ourselves, is infinite and connected to everything in the universe. And if we are to believe or to, and everyone's becoming more familiar now with quantum reality, the more we become connected to that, the more that we understand that, the greater that it expands our awareness, then I do feel that we are on the verge of something very, very special in terms of healing. And I would love to be alive still when we have, the healing that's in my imagination, that's in my my hopes and my dreams, which is that we look after ourselves so much so that physical ailments are becoming less and less, and that we are able to heal disease before it actually even gets into the physical structure. Because obviously when we get disease in the physical body, it's more difficult to treat. And as a physician, we find that we need things like surgery. We need things like medicines to tackle that which is in the physical body. Very often we need a combination of everything. But I would love to get to a stage of our evolution where that is less needed. And because all of our health systems, and we see that, we saw that during COVID and we see it now, all of our health systems are struggling on the planet. And so for me, healing is the embodiment, is letting go of everything that stands in the way of us embodying our divinity in the physical. That is what true healing is to me.
Mm. That was so rich. There's so many things. So many wonderful things in there. True healing is anything that keeps us from embodying our divinity, right?
It is letting go of anything that keeps us from embodying our true divinity. And that is a process. That's not something that happens overnight. And that's why I feel that teachings of the Mystery School are so clever, because it's a path. It's not that actually you can walk on while you are living your life, because you don't expect to have instantaneous, some people I'm sure do have instantaneous connections with spirit, but if that was the case, an instantaneous connection, that a conscious instantaneous connection, yes, we have glimpses of that, and certainly we in the school have rituals that keep us connected to our divine aspect on a much richer and deeper level over and over. We are constantly walking life and noticing the things that come up to challenge us and overcoming that. And through that, and using that knowledge, using the knowledge of our spiritual connection, then we can have a much more profound and deeper and more meaningful engagement with the challenges of life. Because, a life that doesn't carry meaning, that doesn't carry some kind of pondering or wondering, is really a life unlived. Because, everybody has their moments where they feel less connected to their, to themselves, to life, to joy, to all the things that, that spirit allows us to experience. But if everyone understood what is possible in terms of the spiritual studies, and that connection that is within themselves, it's that journey in to understand what's outside and what's going on outside, and our relationship with everything around us. That is so, so important.
That's a great segue, so to speak, for the topic that we consider talking about for this episode, because I find that self-love is greatly missing in the world and within people. And within self-love, what I find missing is that connection to spirit, the understanding of our divinity, and that it's connecting with that love and allowing it to be within us and flow through us in our consciousness and our ways and our consideration of ourselves, and the multidimensional understanding of who we are can really lead to it can support that embodiment.
Yes.
Like, how well do we love ourselves enough to want to know who we are? Do we love ourselves enough to pursue knowledge beyond the physical body and know what's worth loving? That it's not just our personality, it's not just our physical body. What else about us is worth loving and nurturing?
Wow. That's beautiful. Certainly that journey to understand that aspect of ourselves brings about it's like a richness to life, to everything, because each step we take helps us to understand spirit, not just in ourselves, but in everything and in everyone around us. And when we begin to acknowledge that or understand that, our compassion for the human condition, for the, for, the trials that come up in life, and actually for the coping mechanisms that people use. And when you realize that there is so much more, you really want everyone to have this knowledge. Because, once you start studying it yourself, you realize, oh my God, what would our world look like if everyone was able to, even a little fraction of our world was really able to live this way, able to see the world with these eyes, able to use the tools in a way that brought love and healing and compassion and peace and abundance to everything that we do. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Personal.
so it's through connecting with, no, go ahead.
Oh, no. That journey of self-love is an ongoing thing because we're always discovering things about ourselves. As life, you think you know things, and then life shows us something, and we realize, gosh, yeah, that was me then. This is me now. And especially you'll find that if you decide to walk the path, that is an accelerated process. We tend to learn our lessons that little bit faster because we have specific tools to help us to do that. And that is so important for the development of every human being, including the management of what goes on in our mind about ourselves, the negative ego, the way we talk to ourselves, the way that monitoring that starts on a whole new level, and a whole new level of compassion as well. And awareness. The awareness comes in quicker, so we're able to transmute that quicker. I would say when I mean transmute is we're able to actually change it into something else very quickly, so that we can not gloss over things. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about the active engagement of when we catch ourselves having heavier or negative thoughts about ourselves or someone else, and understanding where that comes from very quickly, so that we can uproot that and really transform that quickly, and understand that there's a learning in that for ourselves, and use that learning to help us to understand ourselves better, of course.
And then so that pathway inside ultimately leads to better connection, better relationship to anything, not only ourselves, but in the way that we relate to everything and everyone around us.
Yes, it does. It's funny you should say that, because we're just coming up to Valentine's Day. And,
right.
Our closest relationships, those that are really, in our home, and those that are our intimate relationships, those are the relationships that are going to be the greatest mirrors for us in our life. And as our nearest and dearest reflect us back to ourselves, they'll show us things we like, and they'll show us things that we potentially want to change about ourselves. And when that happens, it can be comfortable sometimes, but there are other times it's not. And if we want better relationships, we need to understand that about ourselves. We need to understand that about ourselves. We need to understand that life is a process of learning. And when our loved one brings up to us in our face the issue that needs to be examined, needs to be changed, whatever that is, it's really, really important that we understand that that's a two-way thing, that it's as much ours, that is a 50-50 piece, and that, to hold that responsibility, that compassion, and that willingness to work on it, and to take action, in a compassionate way.
And then being willing to work on it is then also an act of self-loving, don't you think? Because then you are saying, I know that there's more to me than this.
Yes.
And I'm willing to let that be expressed.
Yes. I love that, because we need to be able to see all sides of ourselves, the shadow and the light. And to be able to, in the school, we have tools that help us to transform and to transmute. We talk about magic in the school, and it's magic with a K. where we have keys, and those keys are very, very important. Those keys help us to literally change nothing into something and to something into something else. It's where we begin to live magically. And that includes in our relationships as well. And within ourselves, as we begin to transmute the lead into gold, we transform the heavy pieces of ourselves into that light, then that becomes possible in our relationships as well. And actually, relationships, the most closest relationships, are golden in our lives because they are able to help us to evolve and to help us to grow. And when you have a couple who are willing to do that, wow, anything is possible. It's actually my personal belief that if we had true peace in relationships, that we would have greater peace in our world. Because it is probably one of the most challenging places is to have peace and respect and loving all the time inside a relationship that is your closest relationship. And if you want those highest qualities, in the relationship, if you really desire a relationship that is dynamic and growing, where each partner is evolving, then the tools of the school they're like gold. They're like true gold, because each person is able to move at their own pace. But while you support each other in doing that, it's a whole other depth of learning and understanding together. It's true magic, true magic.
I know I definitely desire that. And I think that many of our listeners do as well, those in and out of relationship at the moment.
Yes.
And it also brings me to the thoughts of, soulmates and divine union and, the concept of these things and, people
sounds
who
delicious.
are craving them. Huh?
Sorry, it sounds delicious.
Oh, it sounds delicious. Yes. I mean, I said it to someone recently and I'm thinking at the same time, but do we mean the same thing when I say that I desire divine union, And, but I do think, in our culture now, there is a misconception around it in that, my soulmate is going to be this great, perfect thing and everything's going to be wonderful. But the reality is it does come with this because in order to deeply merge, we have to also sort of work through the kinks that would come between the merging. And then so it's the willingness, the desire to, I guess when you found the person that you're willing to really work through those things with, then you can achieve that divine union. But these are my thoughts. I really want to hear your thoughts about it.
Oh, well, I'm a big fan of love.
I know, that's why we're here.
And I did actually, this is something that is very dear to my heart, Zuyapa, because yes, I came through a marriage that didn't work out and starting to trust again and date again and things like that. So when you have two people coming together, you do have the unique things that each person brings. And in the beginning, of course, we have that amazing period where everything is all beautiful and all light, and we can't see each other. We can't, because everything is rosy colored glasses. It is rosy colored glasses, and that's good, because of course in the beginning of any relationship there's that aspect of connection which is pure chemical. It's pure chemistry, and it's getting to know each other enough so that you're willing to then go deeper. And it's in those times, many people find it hard, with the first fight, the first disagreement, the first argument. And honestly, if you can find a way as a young couple where you can continue to respect each other, listen to each other, communicate with each other, and are willing to really listen to the other and to take that on board, then you've got something that you can really build on. And usually your first argument is a good template, for what's to come.
Oh,
So
is it?
I think so. Say that again, Zuyapa. Well, I didn't quite catch that.
I said, oh, is it?
Yes. Yes, it is. Because watch yourself.
Oh.
Your first disagreement, your first figuring out something together, it's okay to call it that. Say, oh, is this our first tiff? And if that is the case, to acknowledge it and say, well, how are you feeling right now? And it's about, are you the person in the relationship that always, gives in and just keeps the peace? Or are you the person in the relationship that really likes to get your own way? Or are you the person in the relationship that, what is your argument style? What is it that, and if you've got, one person who's always giving in and one person who's always getting their own way, that will eventually down the line, have a little explosion at some point. So it's good to acknowledge and see that. I mean, you don't have to analyze every single thing in your relationship because that would get a little bit tedious as well. But it is important to watch these things and just to be aware of the way in which you both are respectful of each other and the way your communication style. Because communication really is so much more than just, listening to the words. It's really taking the other person in and their body language, the tone of their voice, their level of discomfort or comfort in discussing whatever it is you're discussing at the time, and acknowledging that. And actually, in response to that, making sure that you understood what you heard. Because we all have filters. Goodness knows we have filters, which comes from our previous relationships, it comes from our previous experience of life. And with that is going to come interpretations of what was said. And it's okay to slow down because life is so fast right now. If you want your relationship to work, it's okay to slow down the pace at which you engage with each other and to really go deep with that and to understand that slowing down is so respectful to the other person. It says, I live in the fast life everywhere else, but here with you, I'm willing to slow down. There's something very sensual about that and something very appealing about that and something very loving about that. Giving someone your time in a way that you don't give to anyone else.
I love this. And it's bringing me back to what you were saying earlier about healing, because I find that the barrier to slowing down and the barrier to being able to receive your partner and navigate these situations that we're so full and there's not enough space inside, so everything hits a trigger or everything, this is another thing I want to talk about is what happens when you meet your partner's inner child, or how does the inner child respond, in conflict. But ultimately, the choice to heal and the choice to, walk a path of knowing yourself as well is also a choice to have healthy, strong relationships. So that we can, really receive and be present and hear and express, more truth over wounding.
Whew, big deep breath. Inner child work. I really do feel, that our most intimate relationship is, and I know that Founder Goodney would have said this before, that our most intimate relationship is probably the only relationship in life where we have those, spaces where we really process that at that level of vulnerability. Because in your workspace, you're not going to express your inner child. You're there. You turn up as the adult. But if there's a part of you that is holding on to an old hurt as part of the of that inner child, and it comes out in your relationship, then you need to be able to look at that. Your partner needs to lovingly help you to see that, because we do want to be respectful in our most intimate relationships if we want them to last. And if the inner child is wounded, that work needs to be done. And actually, we have an incredible program within the school, the Universal Hermetic Ray Kabbalah, which really helps us to change that wounded child, or to transform into the golden child, into the child that is part of you, you as the adult holding that part of yourself in a higher light, and a higher evolved way of being, which is who the child really in essence is, so connected to spirit. So yeah, that work needs to be done. There is an amazing way to do it if someone isn't finding themselves in difficulty with that. And yes, the places where our most intimate relationships will allow us to explore that will be those that are closest to us, for sure. And meanwhile, we still have to be loving. Be loving. That's a very challenging space. Very challenging. So the more we evolve, the more we can come to that relationship as an evolved being, yes, with our golden child by our side.
I love that concept, because so often when the inner child is talked about, it's the wounded child.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, in every wounded child, it's still the golden child. The child is what represents, that connection to spirit. So I really appreciate you sharing that reminder with us all.
Mm.
And
very,
so,
very
inner child
important.
work isn't just about healing what's wrong. It's about remembering and connecting.
Mm-hmm. For sure. For sure. It's all a journey. And
mm-hmm.
I love that each step in life has a purpose of growth. And when we can ask ourselves, what is the situation teaching me right now? What is it that I can learn from this? And to be inquisitive about life, not just to feel that life is a repeated pattern over and over again, but what am I truly learning from this? And what are we in a relationship truly learning from this? What is it saying? Where are we going? Ask yourselves that, on a regular basis. It's so important.
What are some other things that you think are essential to a healthy relationship?
Well, I do feel that no matter where you are in your relationship, whether you're just starting, whether you're in a committed relationship that's been going on for years and years and years, whether you have family, whether you have health issues, no matter where it is, create time that is completely just for you as a couple. It's like, one person as an individual is going to have their life with all of their loved ones in that. And the other individual is going to have the same. And when they intersect as a couple, then those realities merge. But you have to have a space inside that again that is purely you as a couple, where no one else has privy. Because if you don't create that space, you as a couple is going to get swallowed up in everything else. And it's going to be hard to define yourselves as a couple after a period of time because you haven't given it that space. You haven't given it that, that respect for you. As it's like the budding rose to fertilize, to help it to grow. You need that. You need fertilization of that bud that is your relationship. And there will always be distractions. There will always be life getting in the way. We know that, through our own lives. But as a couple, it has to, and there has to be space for, some couples are more romantic than others, but for something that says, I love you in that, and that could be, so that'll vary from couple to couple, obviously. It'll actually vary from person to person. So ask your beloved, what do I do that makes you feel loved? Let me know what I can do that will make you feel loved, and really pay attention to that. Some people, it might take a little while for them to really understand what that is, or to know what that is. But that's worth asking, and don't just leave it at that. Ask regularly. Or how can I help? Or what is it that I can do? Those things are important. I think that's a big one. Other things are, of course, a respect for each other. Respecting each other, it's where you don't talk negatively about your partner. This is a big thing for women, I think, at the minute. Sometimes when they get together, they talk about their man in a negative way. And that makes me sad, I have to say.
Yeah.
Yes, there will be things that frustrate us about our partners, for sure. And, letting off steam is fine. But, to go on that grind where you are saying the same things over and over again and not letting up, that is wearing down your words. In the mystery school, we talk about words as being, they are magic. They have an energy to them. So when we speak negatively about another, be that our nearest and dearest and our partners, that is going to erode the energy and the synergy between you. So instead of complaining about it, it's better to have that, communication, and just to sit down and say that this is important to me. Can we have a conversation about it? And to own how you feel about it. I feel such and such when this happens. Is there a way that we can fix this? or a way that we can make this better. These things are important. The way we speak about each other, the way we communicate with each other, the ways in which we, there are many ways in which we show love. But the little things very often speak the loudest. And those are the things that are going to be engraved in someone's heart, because when they're gone, for whatever reason, maybe you're taking, a weekend break or whatever, and suddenly the little things aren't there anymore, the person's going to go, oh my God, they're going to realize what you did every day without them even noticing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you do these things to get results. I'm saying you do these things because you love the other person, just because, you want to help them. You want to be there for them. I'm not sure if that answers your question, Zuyapa.
I feel like a lot of
I'm sorry, I have a little delay in the line here.
I know, that's okay. It does answer the question, and it makes me think about the sensual aspect of relationship. Because this is, when we're getting past like the big gestures or the big things, we're getting into, how we express and how we are connecting and flowing in energy with our partner. And in essence, that's the sense, that is the spiritual energy. It's sensual. So, I think we often think about like just sex or just, the obvious expressions of sensuality, but really it's how do we connect? I think sensuality is really important because it's, opens us up to receive the partner.
This is a beautiful question, and one that I think as women, we have to really own this. Because in a way, it's down to us to surrender enough to let our man love us. Now, what does that mean?
Yes, I was going to say, talk more.
Yeah. So if I'm holding stress, if I'm holding, I have to get everything done, it's down to me sort of attitude, where I'm literally holding everything, then there's no room for our partner to step in and be, the hero in the relationship or to help us. So we need to let go of control a little bit. And we need to relax into that. And we need to give that time to evolve. Because if in the beginning we seem as if we've got everything under control and we're doing it all and all the rest, we're not leaving room for partnership. And so, or leaving room for the man to show his love for us. I'm talking about a male-female relationship here. I hope that's okay. Because that's just my personal experience. And, the more masculine in the relationship, the more feminine in the relationship, there usually will be a balance as such. And so it's about leaving that space for that to, to, as you say, create that space. You brought that up earlier. About the idea that to empty a little bit so that we allow that to happen. So part of that is relaxation. And how does a woman relax? Oh my gosh. How does a woman relax? So There are so many ways in which, we hold stress in our bodies, in our psyche as women. We usually have about a gazillion things going on in our mind at the same time. And it's hard for men to fathom that, but it is true. And
yes,
so
that's true.
yeah. So that's where creating the space for each other comes in. Maybe there is something more spontaneous, yes, and that can be fun, when you're, suddenly caught unawares and you're having a little bit of intimacy that is spontaneous. However, if it's something that you want to go deeper, you have to create the space for that in your life. And I mean time. And self-care is a huge part of that, but caring for each other is part of that as well. So again, it comes back to the golden nugget, the communication. What is it that works? And one day it'll be something that works really well for a woman, and the next day it'll be something completely different. So never assume that it's the same thing 2 days in a row. I'm just letting you in on a secret there, gentlemen, honestly. Always ask the questions.
Take notes.
But yeah, time, effort, the things that someone likes, getting to know what someone really likes. And it could be something as simple as, you talked there about sensuality. I mean, sensuality involves our senses, our 5 senses. So anything from oils that create a relaxing scent. Lang Lang is particularly good, when you're thinking about trying to relax as such, and especially in a sensual way. Things like music, and music that helps the body to relax, soothing, hydration, allowing yourself to eat your favorite foods, fruit, things that allow you to, having like fresh sheets on the bed. How far do you want to go with this?
We're living life. So many things. We're living life. There's no limit.
And yeah, well, it depends on the stage of life as well that, your lady friend, your lover is at, because, for this will mean that intimacy will be different the older you get. And understanding that is fundamental. And that's for men and women both. That's for men and women both. And understanding that is very, very important when we are thinking about intimacy. That's a whole talk in itself. So it depends on the age of the couple. It depends on what each one of you likes. And it's important for men to relax too. For men, it's easier. But for women, they need time sometimes to get there. And it's what works for her. You need to make time to understand that. I have to say, this is a topic that I have read a lot about, because I have always been very connected to my physical body, and I always wanted to understand, what gave me pleasure, and so because that was the case, I read dozens and dozens and dozens of books. And I actually wrote a book in the end, not about pleasure, but about relationships. And why some are more challenging than others. Dating, for the first time after a long time of being on the dating scene, this type of thing. And the reason I wrote it was because I found it hilarious to begin with, and it was actually made a good story. But secondly, there was a heck of a lot of learning in that. And it was that learning that gave me, that gave me insights to my own psyche as I was going through this, and the psyche of the men that I met. Yeah, it was good fun.
I bet it was.
Yes.
I do want to talk about your book, but I feel like we're kind of getting into the realm of the masculine and the feminine, and I do want to say that we are talking about traditional relationships, with the masculine man and woman in this particular context and conversation. But, the masculine and the feminine, that does live within us all. And we're also talking about how it expresses, in this relationship context. And it's reminding me of the wonderful teachings that Epsissimus Dave has been sharing about the divine masculine and feminine, which I'm so grateful for, that it can flow out into the collective consciousness. But there is so much power in that. And I do find that it's so much lost in our current society. The power of the feminine and the power of the masculine, as well as this power of surrendering both to meld with the other, which is what you're expressing. So that's why it's making me think about, the masculine and the feminine, and then coming back to the process of healing so that we can look at, the things that are keeping us from really being that true energy that we really are, and having to project and maybe do more and, reach to the other side. And then it creates the imbalance in our relationships, which then creates a lack of communication and lack of intimacy and all the things which we have access to get back to if we desire to. And sometimes, when the person in front of you means enough that you want to allow them the space to be more in your life and your soul, I find normally I ask more questions, but during this episode, I find myself expressing my reflections, and but then that definitely leads you in beautiful places. So I hope that's okay.
Yeah, of course. This is meant to flow the way it's meant to flow. I'm very happy, very happy. Yeah, the differences between men and women are profound, and they are meant to be differences. If we were the same, oh my God, what a boring world this would be. I have always been fascinated by the way I respond, and always did respond, with this passionate, emotional gusto to things, especially in my younger days. I think as a woman gets older, she doesn't have to be, and I'm just going to be very honest, subject to the fluxes of, hormonal cyclic, cycles that you would have been in the earlier part of life. And that's the truth. That's just being very honest. But there's also something that comes with maturity as well, that, your level of patience changes, because you've seen so many cycles of life come around that you realize, well, it's okay. It's okay to allow something to take its full cycle, its fruition. Now, in the context of relationship and how men are around things and how women are around things, one of the big differences for me is that my mind works differently. I love it. I there's times that I can be in my masculine energy and my mind can be very structured when it needs to be. And there's part of me that sometimes wishes my mind was more structured in that way. But a man can, think about something and be focused on it and get the job done. Okay, he may need to ponder it and figure it out, and then, have his plan and do something methodically. Whereas for me, it's more like everything tends to come together in a more artful, artistic way. It's like everything just tends to come together. It doesn't necessarily have to have an organized fashion, or it doesn't have to have a structure to it. And that alone, I could see how that can cause maybe conflict if you're trying to plan something together. But it is a fundamental difference between the way a woman's mind works and a man's mind works. I'm fascinated by it and I love it. And that's, one of the reasons why I value so much a man's input in this world. My God, look at all the structures we have. Everything that has structure to it is very masculine, generally speaking. That's a masculine energy behind that. So anything, and of course there are, exceptions. Sometimes you have, just different energies expressed by a man and different energies expressed by a woman. So it's, it's a mixture. But overall, when you're talking about energy, that masculine energy, that feminine energy, that's the big difference that I notice personally. Of course, there are lots of other differences, but that's something that strikes me when we're working together.
Yes, I agree. I think because there's so much mystery in it that it can be so profound, and people can't really quantify it necessarily because it's not, at this point, it's not a firm concept in our consciousness. And so, the mystery around it becomes something to fight against, unfortunately. But maybe we'll change that a little bit with this episode.
I hope so. I hope so. Because it's our differences. It's our differences that is going to make this world a more beautiful and peaceful place. Because if we were all the same, we wouldn't have peace to fight for. And I know that sounds like two opposites, but peace doesn't come naturally. It's something that we struggle for inside ourselves, never mind in the outside world. So that struggle is worth it. So if you have hurdles to overcome inside relationship, the relationship with yourself, the relationship you have with your partner, the relationship you have with others, therein lies the potential for overcoming, for striving towards something better, for reaching the highest and best within yourself, because you want the highest and best, not because you want to be seen to be the highest and best by any stretch of the imagination, but because you desire that. You desire that. You want the world to be a better place. You want you to be a better person. And inside relationship, that is one of the best opportunities to do that. And thank God for relationships. And thank God for opposites, because therein lies the opportunity. Therein lies the opportunity.
Something did just pop into my mind that I'd like to say. For those listening who are in a relationship and sometimes struggle in those relationships, and not to say what are the right or the wrong ones, but sometimes we can get stuck in a cycle of having to work through, when in reality, sometimes it isn't the right, I'm going to say in quotation marks, the right relationship to work through things. And so there is a subtle aspect of having to be able to discern what's healthy for you, like what's healthy conflict or healthy progression, and find the partner that, find the relationship that is the well, I think, maybe, for that healing dynamic.
I love the word discernment.
Yeah,
it's a big one. It's a big one, and it's one that Ipsissimus Dave devotes a chapter in his book to, a huge piece in that, because as human beings, we need to discern what is right for us, and that includes the relationships that we occupy. And we need to have a degree of being able to have a say in a relationship. If you're someone who never has a say in anything, maybe that's something that either you need to work on within the relationship, or maybe that's not the relationship for you. It's very difficult sometimes to acknowledge that, especially if you love someone dearly.
Yeah.
But, there are many, many things that go to make a good relationship, including compatibility. And yes, love can be there. It's better if it is, obviously. And there are many ways to express love. But we have to grow inside. Each person has to be able to grow inside that. Their progression needs to continue inside a relationship. And each person looking out for the other and encouraging that. That's an ideal. That's the ideal.
Well, this was really rich. And I think, I know it's late for you there, so I don't want to keep you too long, but is there anything, would you like to talk about your book that I know that you're re-releasing, or have any parting words for our listeners and viewers?
Oh, well, the one thing I would say about the book is that it has, it's a light-hearted look at the life of a woman who is going back into dating after many, many years. And so it's all about apps and all the rest, and how she navigates that. And it's about her different encounters and what she learned about each one. But the second heading in the book, it's about daring to love again. It's called Once Upon a Tinder, Dare to Love Again. And really, I would say to your listeners, dare to love. Dare to love. Dare to love, because, that is where the love, the true love, is first of all worth it. Secondly, it is worth keeping your heart. The one thing that I have noticed about me personally is that in the times in my life where I felt hurt or something, or where something terrible happened and my heart shut down, there was the real pain. It wasn't about the incident that happened. It was what happened to me and my energy structure, because I didn't want to get hurt again. By actively engaging in whatever it was that was going to help me to open up my heart again and to be ready. If hurt came again, that's fine. But if love came again, I was ready. That was a big secret for me. and understanding what life is really about, keep your heart open. Keep your heart open. Don't let the things that happen in life shut you down. Remain open, remain alive, remain loving, no matter what, because therein lies real life. You shut yourself down, you miss out on so much. You miss out on so much. So please trust yourself and dare to love again. And I all my love goes out to you in that and saying that statement. I really wish you every success in finding love and in being loving in the relationships that you're in, and just allowing love to be what it is, love.
Wow. Allow love. Keep your heart open. That's beautiful. Great note to end. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And for everyone listening, I will put links to the books that we mentioned so that you can check those out if you like to. This is a really wonderful conversation, and I hope that you all enjoyed it. Our gentle, graceful, compassionate pace of sharing with you. And we hope that you got a lot out of it and that you lean into love, find love within yourself, love in your relationships, and love in your life. And that you have a wonderful day and a wonderful life filled with love. Thanks for watching. Till next time.
Thank you.
If I can find where to stop it.